Welcome to Ward Talk. I'm Bonnie Gabowitz, your host, and in this show, we're discussing issues and solutions of the city of Ann Arbor. Today, we are talking to Zach Ackerman from Ward 3. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Bonnie. It's great to be here.
Great, and it's great to see you. Ward 3 is certainly part of good part of the city, and I know there's some things going on in your ward. Before we talk about the whole city, let's just zero in on your ward and talk about what new developments there are, what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two big updates that I want to provide to people that I'm excited to share. The first, which I think is probably most of interest to the largest group, is the development at the old juvenile detention center next to County Farm Park. As you may or may not know, those 13 acres were once where we segregated struggling kids from society, and the county has since changed its model for how we do incarceration and rehabilitation for young adults and young people in the county, really kids. But with that, it opened up 13 acres of developable land. And the county in 2017 sold that to a developer for a low price because this individual, this group, I should say, wanted to do something really revolutionary. They wanted to build the Great Lakes region, the Midwest's first carbon net neutral neighborhood. That's to say that this neighborhood will produce more energy via sustainable energy sources like solar than it will consume, and 50% of it will be developed by Avalon Housing, who's our most trusted nonprofit partner to build affordable housing in the community. Half of it will be available to moderate and low income households, and even a special section of it will be available to the Ozone Center, who helps homeless teens find housing and stabilize their lives. So really exciting stuff, really once in a generation opportunity, and that will be moving forward in the coming months.
So you said this started back in 2017. So my question then is, what's been happening over the past 3 years?
Yeah, great question.
It sounds like a complicated situation if there hasn't been that much movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you're developing publicly owned land, there's a lot that has to happen behind the scenes. So first and foremost, there were some kind of bureaucratic processes that had to happen at the state in order to create a land division, because a group called Thrive Collaborative will be building one set of housing on the southern portion of the property, and then Avalon and Ozone will be building the portion on the northern half. And legally, because they're going to use two different funding sources, they have to be separate properties. Avalon also needed additional time to get in order their financing because affordable housing uses some of the most complex and intricate different sources of funding that's out there. So it involves grants from the state, it involves low interest loans from the state, and all of that takes a considerable amount of time to line up. Additionally, our development process in Ann Arbor is lengthy because we have a lot of regulations on the books, and those regulations do good things. They protect the wildlife, they protect natural features, they protect neighbors from stormwater, and elements like that. And to go through that process can take considerable time, especially as plans need to be revised, civil engineers need to be consulted, and financial institutions need to give their clearance and permission to loan the money necessary to build such a first of its kind neighborhood.
Well, that is very complicated. No, I'm surprised hasn't taken longer after you go over all that. but everything is flowed now, and you're at the point where you're ready to do what?
Yeah, absolutely. So City Council reviewed at a first reading a rezoning of the land. Right now it's zoned PL, which stands for public land, because it was once a corrections facility. And it will be rezoned to a planned unit development, or PUD, which is kind of a build your own zoning district that allows something as unique as this to be built. So we'll be rezoning it. We had one reading. Under state law, we're required to have 2 readings. The next reading will happen in about 2 weeks. And at that time, the decision will also be accompanied by the site plan. And the site plan is actually the schematics, the blueprint of what the development will look like. And so we'll be making the final decision in the coming weeks.
That's very exciting. And what is your projected time frame of when actual construction could begin?
So some of that is on the private developer. So the for-profit group, Thrive Collective, and then the nonprofit group, Avalon and Ozone, to dictate. Although I know most organizations like to move quickly. So people could anticipate and should plan for construction to begin next spring. So that'd be spring of 2021. Although that also requires financing to be finalized on the private side, financing to be finalized on the public side for the affordable housing, as well as all the building permits to be approved through the city's building department, and all the stormwater permits to be approved from the county government.
So this is definitely a topic I'll be wanting to follow in the next shows as well, to see how the progress is going.
Yeah, it really takes Ann Arbor and puts us on the map as true leaders in sustainability and equity. It will be a very unique and one-of-a-kind project. And we talk a lot about these issues, but this will be the most direct action that Ann Arbor will have taken in decades to further those goals.
Great. And also in Ward 3, I understand your ward is now getting some traffic calming devices. And so what's the neighborhood that needed it?
Yeah, absolutely. So neighbors on Fernwood near Mitchell Elementary and Scarlet Middle School can expect some traffic calming to come onto their street. So that will include some road improvements, as well as some means by which traffic and speeds will be decreased to help create a safer environment for kids who are commuting to school. We've gotten a lot of reports over the years, and when I say we, I mean Julie Grand, my colleague, and I get a lot of reports over the years of speeding down that street, especially during rush hour and at times around the school drop off and pickup. And so from local residents, as well as concerned parents and the school district, we've gotten feedback that it'd be really nice to reduce speeds on that road. And so we'll be moving forward with that.
And do you know if any more crosswalks will be designated as part of this, or that's pretty well established?
So Fernwood is a very residential street in its nature. It's very much a neighborhood local street. So those crosswalks are where they're at the intersections. That's where we usually put them in the neighborhoods. Those will remain the same. I would imagine some improved painting for visibility, but I don't have the engineering drawings in front of me, so I don't want to make any promises without referencing the official documents.
Okay. Now, this being the October show, and next month is the elections, I know there are some things that you wanted to help the viewers know about the election process and the ballots. There are just so many questions about it, but I know the city's been working very hard in making it as easy and simple a process as possible. So tell us about it.
Yeah, Bonnie, that's the most timely and most important question that you could ask. We have before us the November election, the big one, the presidential, and perhaps the biggest presidential election of many of our lifetimes, certainly my generation, but I think for other generations as well. And it's very, very important that everyone use their right to vote, but also their duty to vote in this election. To make that as easy of a process as possible, generally, but also in particular amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the city of Ann Arbor is taking certain steps to make voting as accessible and easy as possible for people, because we really want to increase the legitimate turnout of votes in the city of Ann Arbor to make sure that our voices are heard. So first of all, absentee ballots became available last week. So those should start hitting doors now if you're on the permanent absentee ballot list. If you're not yet on that list, you can add yourself to the permanent list. So you'll always be mailed an application to vote absentee. And you can do that by contacting our local city clerk. So those individuals should start receiving ballots now. Also, you can start to apply for an absentee ballot, or you can essentially do early voting by going into a facility, receiving and filling out the absentee ballot application now, and you'll actually be given a ballot there and then. You will have a private booth in which you can vote, and then you'll seal your envelope, you'll sign it just as you would your absentee ballot, but instead of mailing it, you'll just drop it in a drop box. So we've essentially made early voting available. And to make it even easier to do that, typically we only have those services available during business hours at City Hall on the second floor at the city clerk's office. We still have that. You can still go to City Hall. There's plenty of parking in our downtown area. And you can vote on the second floor at the city clerk's office. However, we want to make it even easier. So we've opened a satellite office on U of M's campus to make it as accessible to young people, to faculty and staff of the university as possible to vote. Because we know that that's the largest employer in our city. We know that there are 46,000 students who need to use their right to vote. And so at the University of Michigan's Art Museum on State Street, we've opened a satellite city clerk's office where people can request their absentee ballots, vote in person, and submit their ballots, all from that secondary location. So lots of opportunity to vote early. There are no excuses not to, but of course, we'll also have in-person voting at your regular polling location on Tuesday, November 3rd, if you're old-fashioned and like to show up for the polls.
Right. And we're going to be taking a break right now, Zach, and we will be getting back to some more topics for the city of Ann Arbor.
Many downtown Ann Arbor merchants and restaurants have enjoyed some relief from the COVID-19 business impacts, due in part to the city's decision to close several streets to vehicle traffic Fridays through Sundays. City officials are reminding patrons that the closures will be cut short from the original August 23rd end date unless masks are worn and a distance of at least 6 feet is maintained. The city's expectations are consistent with other protocols being set in the community. The University of Michigan has announced that all faculty, staff, students, and visitors are being required to wear a face covering everywhere on campus, indoors and outdoors, and inside U of M buses. The Ann Arbor Public Schools also share the city's emphasis and the importance of wearing a mask. Keep everyone safe and your favorite places open and operating. Wear a mask, save a life.
We know what it's like to go to war, to bravely step forward and sacrifice for what you believe is right. We see those who are redefining what it means to serve, to be a patriot, a hero, and to save lives. From our nation's injured veterans to the faces of courage across America today, we see you, we support you, we salute you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Here to drop off my gear.
Hi, this is Bonnie Gabowitz. We're back with Ward Talk, and I'm talking to Zach Ackerman from Ward 3. Hi, Zach. We were just talking about the election, but if we zero in on the city and their elections, I know there's some proposals on the ballot. So tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. I know everyone knows what's at the top of the ballot this year, but a lot of people might not know what's in the nonpartisan section or the proposal section. So there are a couple judicial races that folks in Ann Arbor should pay attention to. You can find more information online, but I really want to spend some time talking about 4 proposals that Ann Arbor residents will see on the ballot. The first is for the county and is for land preservation. As folks may know, the city of Ann Arbor and the county, as well as the outlying townships in our area, are in partnership to create a green belt. And that's to preserve and protect natural area and farmable land around Ann Arbor to ensure that we don't sprawl out as a community. Because one of the worst things that we can do for the climate crisis is to create urban sprawl and increase the commutes that people have to perform in order to get to work every day.
It's my understanding the work on this green belt has been going on for quite a while. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. About 20 years now. And so this would be a continuation of that work on the county side. The city also has a partnership role in this, but the county, as the largest entity in the region, plays a significant leadership role as well. So this would allow them to continue that work, which I believe is important. The next 3 are Ann Arbor specific, so only City of Ann Arbor residents will see this on their ballot. There are 2 elements. One is a renewal for streets, and the other is a new millage for sidewalks. The streets millage is our local funding source to repair and maintain our 300 miles of roadway that we're responsible for here in Ann Arbor.
And that basically is because although there might be some federal funding, it's never enough. Is that correct?
Exactly right. We do receive funding from the federal government through grants, and then through the state government through pass-through revenue that's collected through different taxes, state income and gas tax and the like. And so that does help us a large degree, but there's a huge gap in our funding. In Michigan, we receive very little funding from the state government. It's a chronic issue, has been for decades. We're at the bottom of the list of states in the nation for per capita road spending. And so we have to supplement that with local money just to tread water. So really important that if we want to continue the road work that we have now, to keep funding that. I'll say too, in 2016, we adopted a new roads plan that helps us spend those dollars smarter so that the money goes further and we repair more roadways. So the dollars will be spent smarter and more efficiently and effectively than they have in previous decades. So a lot of credit to our engineering and planning staff at the city for envisioning and executing this new plan. The new sidewalk millage is a little bit different. Typically, when we install sidewalks, historically, we've assessed the property owners with the adjacent properties to the new proposed sidewalk. However, that cost burden has been somewhat intense on those residents. So we're instead proposing a small property tax so that we socialize the cost of that across all of the residents of Ann Arbor, so that we're not specifically putting all of the burden on the local property owner. And I shouldn't say right now it's all of the burden, but it's a lot of the burden on the local property owner.
And in general, what is the condition of the sidewalks right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So people will remember about 5 to 10 years ago, we transitioned that the city maintains all existing sidewalks. So that still exists. This is talking about just installing new sidewalk. And we have over 100 miles of sidewalk gap that we're trying to fill because we want Ann Arbor to be a very walkable community, but also an accessible community for those of us who may not be able to walk around in the street and on grass. And that's really important, especially as our community ages and we need more walkable and comfortable sidewalks for people to get around.
And I just wanted to mention before we leave this election topic, that CTN is showing candidates on, CTN is actually showing it through the League of Women Voters. So people do have an opportunity to see people up front and what their particular plans are for leadership. I just want to throw that in.
That's awesome to hear. I'm really glad. The last proposal,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were done.
that's okay. No, there's a lot on the ballot, so it takes some time. The last one is Proposal C, which is about affordable housing, and this one I think is perhaps the most near and dear to me, and I think absolutely critical to our community. Proposal C would enable the city of Ann Arbor to build 1,500 new units of permanently affordable housing. And the way that we got there is actually really inspiring and should build a lot of confidence to listeners and to viewers. The way that we got there is over the last 7 years, we partnered with the Obama administration to rehab and rehabilitate all of our current affordable housing stock the city of Ann Arbor owns. There's about 355 units of housing that were in desperate need of repairs, actually $65 million worth of repairs. There was mold, there was asbestos, there were HVAC issues, there was plumbing issues, and we were able to fix all of that over 7 years and increase the number of units by 45. So we've taken care of what we have now, and we have a sustainable funding source through private dollars and federal dollars to maintain that long term. And now it's time to turn our attention to the future and becoming an even more welcoming and inclusive community. Over the last decades, Ann Arbor has become incredibly economically segregated. In fact, we're the 8th most economically segregated community in the entire nation. And Ann Arbor continues to get whiter and more affluent every single year as average rents increase 16% year over year. No other household good is inflating at the rate of 16% every year. So we have a critical housing crisis on our hands. So we've identified 10 properties that are owned by the public, which really reduces the cost of buying new land, that can be built upon. And this would enable us to build 1,500 units of housing on those properties. Which
So
would,
when you say properties, is it unused land, or is there a building already on the land?
yeah, mostly unused. There's one that has a building on the land currently, or I should say there are 3 with buildings on them currently. Most are very blighted and deteriorated. A couple are surface parking lots in our downtown, but for the most part, they are unused or underutilized. And you know, I would argue that housing 70 to 100 people is better than parking 20 cars in our downtown.
In the we have just a few minutes left, and I know there's so much we want to cover. Can you just give us a quick comment about where we're at with the new city administrator? Last month, there were 4 candidates still being considered at our last show, and now we do have a decision. So if you could just make a statement about that, just to update it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So nothing gets done without the incredible staff at City Hall and at the Wheeler Center and driving around in maintenance vehicles all day. And they are led by the city administrator, who's the city's chief executive. We are moving forward with hiring Tom Crawford as our new city administrator. Tom has been our longtime chief financial officer. He knows the budget and the operations of the city better than anyone. He's also served as our interim city administrator 3 times, and I'm confident in his ability to lead City Hall into the future and to work with future councils to make sure that the values and the priorities of residents are implemented day in and day out.
Okay, so that sounds like a vote of confidence.
So vote of confidence from me.
Okay, great. And Zach, this is the end of your term, I understand. You don't have much time left on working as a person who leads your community. So how about some parting words as to what this has meant to you and what you would like to see happen with the city?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. And Bonnie, thank you for having these shared experiences over the year. It's been a highlight. and a real treat and pleasure. And thank you too for your service. So I'll be leaving City Council in November. I decided not to seek re-election this year. I was elected at the age of 21 as a college senior, and the voters of the Third Ward put their trust in me, and I've never taken that lightly, and I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity. We've gotten to do really cool structural changes and reforms at the city. We've overhauled our downtown zoning code to improve affordable housing in our downtown. We've implemented a new roads plan to make sure that tax dollars are spent more responsibly to pave more miles of roadway every year. We've rehabbed every single unit of our affordable housing stock and are now setting our eyes to the future of building even more. But more importantly, there's been so much opportunity to connect with real people who live in Ann Arbor southeast side of town and are living out their little piece of the American dream here, who care about their trash getting picked up every day, their recycling being treated responsibly. I've helped, people's grandmas plant new trees in their front yards. I've helped college students install solar panels and EV charging stations. It's been an incredible journey and super, super satisfying. And as I set my eyes on the next chapter, so much of it will be on a foundation laid by my service at City Council. I've spent a quarter of my life serving the people of Ann Arbor. I've gotten engaged in that time. I've gotten into recovery in that time. And I'm super excited to take what I've learned and keep helping to change the community and the region and the nation and the world, hopefully, as I can. But most importantly, thank you.
And I want to thank you and wish you all the best of luck. And you're just beginning your life in being a leader, so good luck.
Thank you. And thank you again for this opportunity throughout all the years.
You're welcome. This is Bonnie Gabowitz. I'm the host of Ward Talk, and I'd like to thank Zach Ackerman for his service again. And if you want to contact us, please check Twitter, twitter.com/CTN in Arbor, or go online, email us at ctn@a2gov.org, and you can do attention Ward Talk if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make to us. Until next time, I'm Bonnie Gabowitz. Take care.